snacks.
What it do, snackers, snackettes, and snack X's? It's your boy Gage. Sin is in the building.
Yes, sir.
Our very special guest, Jerry, the franchise Gaylord, is in the building. And you are now tuned into Loading Snacks Weekly, where we get together once a week and we talk about things that are happening in pop culture. And today, Jokes is out sick. He is not feeling well. He decided to lay back down. Were basically the words that he said. I'm
Yes.
gonna lay back down. So I'm assuming that the stellar con crud got to him, maybe. But hopefully he feels better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we'll be back around and on time next week. So don't pop in the chat asking me what time Jokes is coming. He's not coming. Just want to just get that clear. But Sin is going to get the beacons link up for you, which is what Jokes usually does when he's here, so that you can follow us across social media and all of the places where we have a tendency to pop up across the internet, the interwebs, if you will. And then, now that he has completed Jokes' job, he has his own job to do. So, Sin, if you would please.
Yeah, so let's shout out our top tier patrons, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, Meticulous Skin, Alex Lee, Ellis Mbe, and Kermit Ferguson. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Indeed, we do. You help keep the lights on, help keep us traveling and going to conventions, and
That is a fact.
It's a real thing. So look, Jerry, what's going on, bro?
Everything. It's all good. First, jokes get better, man. I didn't realize this was going to be a jokesless event. Oh man.
Yeah, it happens. Unfortunately,
That convention cred is real.
Oh, it's serious.
It's really real.
And considering what's happening with, like, there's a lot of stuff going around right now. Everybody's susceptible. So, yeah. I'm sure he'll be fine. But
definitely,
I'll take him some medicine if I need to. He's down the street. He'll be all right. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. What's going on with you, Jer?
It's all good, man. I'm keeping busy working on still working on the graphic novel for Kid Flash.
Yeah.
I'm like deep into that. So that's a good time over at DC, and then I'm wrapped up at Warner Brothers for right now, but I'm starting a new show that I'm doing. Yeah, I'm doing not storyboards, so I'm excited. I'm excited about that.
That's right.
I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Hey, Candace. Yeah. Okay? So we have transitioned up to not storyboards. Would that be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is.
Can you say what your role is? Even if you can't say what you're working on, can you say what your role is?
Yeah. I'm art directing, so that's like the show is going to look like my art. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. I mean, it's exciting. It's like storyboards is like really cool, but it's a grind. Like, you're it's almost nonstop. And I feel like design like comes more naturally to me. So it's something that while I'm doing it, like it's even more fun and rewarding.
When did you figure out that design came more naturally to you? When did that?
I mean, somewhere in the middle of this last like 7 years or so. Like you know what? Not in the middle. Like really while I was working on X-Men.
Okay.
Because I was doing. I mean, done a pretty good amount of like freelance design work for like toys and whatever. Some action series stuff in Canada. But you know, like while I was working on X-Men, I was also doing a lot of like just stuff for myself. So like while I was doing those things, I felt like I was really growing,
Yeah.
um, you know, and kind of finding a voice in terms of like character design, and you know, and then also at that same time we were me, Penny, and Brian were working on we were developing our series at Cartoon Network, so we were
Right.
doing a lot of you know, designing and writing, and you know, it's fun, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have like for me it just doesn't have the
It's
stress
it's
that
still work. It's less
storyboards
grind,
bring.
right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's less of a grind. But it's
yeah.
still work. I
Hmm.
dig that. Are you? I mean, look. How long have you been in California now?
I think it's been like 8 years now.
Okay. Um, are you ever surprised at your own resume?
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I I don't know if it's surprised, but is is definitely like one of these things where like sometimes I have to like take a step back and be like, wow, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like the very first thing that I did in animation was Ultimate Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
you know, like jumping in there and then moving out to LA and like, you know, just the palm trees, the swimming pools, the movie stars, all that. Like uh it's crazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like when I'll never forget, like one day I just ran into Master P in the elevator at Warner Brothers, like just casually. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Of all the things.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you know. I saw I was at the Popeyes when I was at lunch at Warner Brothers, and
Mm.
then I saw
Hold on. Hold on.
T-Balls.
Wait a minute. Run it back. Let me just make sure I caught that. Are you telling me that there's a Popeyes at Warner Brothers?
Not not at one so
Okay.
not
I
at
just
Warner
listen.
Brothers.
I
Like
It's
just be. I'm about
inside
to be
the
like, hold
inside the
up.
headquarters. You got a Popeye downstairs.
it's like right outside. It's like right
Okay.
outside.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Or it used to be that they moved that Warner Brothers sold that space, so
Okay.
they're not right there anymore.
They're not
But
there. Okay.
yeah, it was
Okay.
convenient.
I
Right.
dig it. I mean, nah, I get
Yeah.
that, but I'm just saying, if they had had a Popeyes like in
Oof.
the Warner Brothers,
And their food
They
court.
yeah,
no, so in the building I was in most recently, they have a bunch of little restaurants in there. They
yeah,
don't have no fried chicken.
mm, they don't know. They don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
It's like a
tell
little
them.
food court in there.
Yeah, yeah. They have like a coffee shop. They got a little salad like place where they make the salads for you. They're building for you, and
Okay.
then they got kebabs, like a kebab spot, and then um, pizza. They do like made to order sandwiches in there. Oh, you know, it's
I
nice.
mean, it sounds. I was gonna
Okay.
say it sounds kind of nice,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though there's no fried
But
chicken.
ain't no fried chicken. Yeah.
It's no fried chicken.
You know,
It's
it's maybe
there
not
just
great
isn't.
for you. So, what's up, Zayna?
Zaina.
Yeah. You know your resume. I'm gonna go back to that for a second. When you think about your own resume, it's not just like the things that you've worked on, but the things that you have done in the different like roles, capacities that you've had. Do you have you ever looked at it? We've had conversations amongst ourselves, right? At Loading Snacks, Nana says, hi, Jerry and fellas. Hey back, Nana. Well, like sometimes we have to like go back and remind ourselves like some of the things that we've managed to accomplish, some of the things that we've done, and like really think about what our resume really looks like and how that qualifies us for things that maybe we wouldn't have realized that we qualified for. Has that happened? Have there been things where you're like, maybe this isn't the thing I would go for, but nah, I have this, and this on my resume. I could, I can do that.
So I not quite in that way. Just
Okay.
because like in my head I'm there isn't a thing that if the opportunity showed up that I would just be like, no. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm always, yeah, like whatever it is, I believe I can handle it. I believe I
Yeah.
can pick it up. I can get there. I can, you know what I mean? Like in terms of
That's
like
that Cyclops
Ah,
Leonardo leadership.
ah.
You know what I'm saying? Mark on you. I got you. Okay.
yeah, I just, like because what I think the thing that got all of us like to where we are, I'm talking about you guys too, but like definitely, me, Penny, Flash, like um we're not afraid to take that step forward. Like if, like I remember like back when we were first getting started and like we were doing, I remember like the first time, we made the decision to shell out all the money to go do New York Comic Con. Like it was at that time, like right now it seems like, yeah, just do it. But, at that time it was like a huge risk
It's
and it
first step.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, and we were up for the challenge then, or something simple like, I mean, you remember back in the day, like Identity used to be like 12 people or something like that, and we would
Mhm.
all be at one table.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? So even saying, okay, so we want to get two tables. Like the first time we got two tables, you know what I mean? Like that was this financial investment, and
Mhm.
I think we've always been willing to like take that leap of faith,
Yeah.
and so it's for me like I'm always willing to do that, and I'm
Yeah.
always ready for it. And I think that honestly, like after I did the X-Men, like, people were more interested, like period.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like so I have been fortunate enough to kind of experience that, especially, with the like the industry being really kind of contracted. It actually feels like it's starting to open back up to me. But
Sure.
yeah, but it like it's one of those things where I can say, oh, I worked on X-Men, and like people just know what it is. So
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that like alleviates all this like
That'd be a great
stress.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have
It's
you have you ever taken that leap, run that risk, and had it not pay off?
yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, um, my first not the first show I did at Warner Brothers while I was on Scooby Doo. Like that didn't really end great for me. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like um I left that show pretty down on myself and my abilities. Like I had a really hard time with um like how that show sort of worked. And I think my director and I, we just weren't a good match. And it was early enough in my animation career that like I didn't understand that.
Sure.
So like you trying to figure out like how to internalize that situation and then move on to the next thing. Like that was tough.
Okay. I dig
Yeah.
it. Then pop that back up.
Yep.
Penny in the chat. What she say? Going off on this topic, do you guys also surprise yourself with what you've been able to accomplish as a crew with all the cons you're able to do as press? Um, it's less surprising now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say, but it's there are still times when it's surprising. Like, um, I think more for us now, it's more within. You can take that off the screen.
Oh
So
yeah, shoot.
it's more surprising some of the other stuff we get. Like, we are in positions to host and kind of do like stage management and stuff like that. Wait. Um, so yeah, like we do get opportunities to do things that weren't part of. To be honest with you, none of this was part of the plan. So like,
Pretty much, yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, the reality of it is that this was just supposed to be us talking
Talking,
trash about
yeah.
video games. Really, is what it was supposed to be, and it just grew into a lot more. And then whether it was through natural ability or just learning how to do it, and the word of the day saying be malleable. um we kind of picked up on doing other things. So, like, what I will tell you, that probably the first opportunity I had to moderate a panel, I did it for you all. You guys had a panel, and I'm not sure exactly what happened. I don't know if somebody was supposed to moderate and something happened or whatever, but you all
We
had a
definitely
panel. I
asked
think
you.
it was at Awesome
I
Con,
remember that too. Yeah, we had to
and
Yeah,
step
y'all
we
were
in.
like,
definitely asked.
"Do you want to do it?" And I was just like, "Yeah, all right." You know what I mean? And just went up and do it. And that was maybe like 20 minutes notice. It was just kind of like, "Yeah, I got it though. Let's just go do it." And that is kind of the same thing I think you're talking about, Jerry, where it's
Yeah,
like, you just got to jump in. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
take the leap. Um, and oftentimes that leap of faith does pay off, and when it doesn't, you learn how to tuck and roll. So
yeah, yeah.
that's part of it. You got some hard falls, and then you learn how to tuck and roll. Um,
So
how?
with
Go
that
ahead.
awesome con in particular, that's a
Mhm.
great example because we we just got ourselves a panel. You know what I mean? Like we hadn't done one before. Not
Mm.
Yeah,
not our own panel. And
right.
so I for sure when we asked you, we asked because we figured you would help bring some structure and help us navigate the whole thing. But it was just like, yeah, let's do this. Why not?
I
Why
mean, I
not
appreciate
us?
you making that guess, because I was definitely doing guesswork. I mean, but again, it was just like, but I'll be real with you. That panel, there are people who we are friends with, and I say friends like I mean like friends with, that came out of that panel, like to this
Mm,
day. Like, I know J Mark, but like I
yeah.
met J Mark at that panel with
Oh,
him
okay.
asking you guys questions about stuff, during that panel. And like, we do stuff with J Mark, and we message each other and all that kind of stuff all the time now. And so, on that note, how important has your network been to the success of your career?
It's everything. I mean, the network is probably it's probably more important than my skill level. Um,
Hmm.
like I think that we even tell people like you gotta if you want to get into the industry, like you gotta be dope and you gotta know somebody.
A
Um,
combination.
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. And so wherever like I think us doing conventions was like so important for us and like branching out and doing shows away from like sort of the East Coast, like going beyond
Yeah.
like Philly and um those. Well, I don't even know if there is a Philly show anymore, but like
Well, there
we
was
used to do.
Wizard World, but that's
Yeah.
Philadelphia Expo now. So they do, yeah, they still do
Okay,
them. Like, we go,
yeah.
yeah,
So because we were doing like Baltimore and like all the local stuff, but
yeah.
like growing beyond that and you know talking to people and creating those relationships is really what opened the door to everything we're doing now. I mean, there's like all of it really
Yeah.
came from some conversation that we had with someone at a convention or
Yeah.
someone we met online or something like that.
I mean, I remember in what I'm gonna call at this point the early days, like you all doing conventions and literally having your portfolios there with you and like having scheduled meetings
Hmm.
with people at conventions to go and show them your work and kind of put yourself in front of people. But I also remember the rejections. Hey, we don't. This isn't a style that works for us. I don't think this is
Yeah,
cool. We
man.
like this stuff, but it doesn't have this. And then also kind of having conversations with you and Flash about how the work you guys did at Six Flags really helped you guys get so good and so fast that it complemented your ability. Like speed was became a more important thing maybe than just pure talent. Like there are people who can put things on paper that nobody else can do, but they can't necessarily do it in a timely fashion, and how that's a thing that people don't realize is important to the business of
Hmm.
comics or even storyboarding and hitting
Yeah.
deadlines and stuff like that. So obviously there's been a lot absorbed and learned over time. Is there is there something you want to do that you haven't done
I mean,
that isn't your
in
own
terms of,
personal IP? Let me clarify that isn't like your
oh,
own
okay.
stuff. Yeah.
You know what? I think yesterday I saw that DC is doing a new superpower show. I'm so mad I'm not working on that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not it's funny because like I'm real mad that I'm not working on it, but at the same time I'm like I don't want to work on that.
Yeah.
So
What's your desire like to write?
yeah, I definitely want to write. Like I pitched Penny and I each pitched some graphic novel ideas to DC recently, and we haven't pitched anything since
Okay.
since they canceled our show. But yeah, I mean, we definitely want to write because like at the end of the day, like you really so my the way from what I've seen, um, artists are really treated like I don't know, almost like just this secondary kind of like part of the
Replaceable,
machine.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. You know what I mean? Like it's like, which is so weird to me because in animation, like the artists are like creating the thing, right? You know, like they're they're really like there isn't anything but words, and then the artists come in, and now you have a show. Like
Right.
the you don't
Mhm.
even like I tell people, that don't understand like storyboards. There is no show until the storyboard artist touches it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have anything to show,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so it's a visual medium, but to really have a stake in it, like you really need to be like writing. So
What
it's
what
definitely
would
something I want to do.
what would your experience as an artist, and moreover as a storyboard artist, and I guess it depends on what you want to write, whether you want to write something for animation or you want to write comics or a graphic novel or whatever, but like what do you think that your experience as an artist brings to what you would do as a writer? Like how would it benefit you?
Well, so a lot of times, like you'll get a script and it'll be like 30 pages, which is insane. Like for like a 30-minute or like really like a 20-minute show, like
Yeah.
that's way too much. You're gonna end up cutting so much, or more realistically, drawing a bunch of stuff that's going to get cut. You
Just a
know,
lot of work.
so
Mhm.
yeah, so much work for like all the people involved, and like you talking, for like an action show, you're usually looking at like maybe 4 storyboard artists, a director, and then a revisionist.
Hmm.
So, uh, like as a writer, I know when it's too much. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like
Hmm.
I get that. And then, a lot of times, like a writer can write something that's like this, short like sentence of action, like they fight or whatever. Or what
Right.
I mean? But like there's
They
right,
fight.
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Hey, I'll
but
be
like,
honest. Sometimes I watch something and I'm like, they might have just wrote they fight. Like, like
yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah. I mean, and it's like you don't want the writer to overwrite a fight or an
Sure.
action scene because like you need space to create, to
Hmm.
choreograph. But like you need to get like the story beats in there and things like that. So like you- uh, as an artist who also writes, like I would know, where to put those beats and like what does this actually mean to like what the boards are going to end up being like, because somebody has to draw that,
Yeah.
and it's not one
Yeah.
drawing, it's like 100 drawings. So you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
it's like all this work, and and like that goes into the budget, right? So somebody
Hmm.
has to draw it, then it takes time, and then um, if the artists aren't able to really flesh that out in the beginning, then like at some point it's got to get fleshed out. At some point, it's going to show itself in the budget. And if that's something I can catch up front as a writer, then that's something that doesn't end up needing to be redone later on down the line.
Right. Right. You could save a lot of money and a lot of, you know, wasted time and energy
Hmm.
Yeah.
based on the knowledge you have going in, having had to be on the side of it that you've been on.
Yep.
How often do you use yourself as a reference for poses in your boards?
Like anytime I need like hand reference.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm doing like a close up of hands, because I don't have a hard time drawing hands, but like when it's a close up, like you really got to get it.
Hmm.
So I'll do that. Um, and then in general, like I throw myself into the boards any
Sure. Sure.
anytime I get. Um, but then like usually, actually, instead of using myself, like I'll use um like
Action
action
figures or something?
figures. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like I can um I can like stage these, right, like however I
Sure.
want, and then take a still and then use that as a reference. So it's more convenient for me.
Is it,
Okay.
does that inform the way you look for your action figures? Like, are you looking for fully
I was
articulated,
thinking
like,
that.
I want figures that I want the GI Joe with all the arm
Yeah.
rotation, kung
I
fu grip.
yeah,
Like, I
I
need
I
all of that.
definitely I definitely like a figure that has good articulation. Like I'm frustrated when they can't
Hmm.
achieve certain poses.
Hmm.
Um, so like a lot of the stuff I get is I've kind of chilled out on Marvel Legends.
Yeah.
They usually work pretty good, but I've kind of chilled out on those, and so
Okay.
now like I'll pick up like the imported like Mafex figures.
Mhm.
Like those are they're more expensive, but they like you can see it, you know.
And
What?
that's what he tells people for why he gets them for research purposes. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Jerry. You post them things. You take all the pictures you need, baby. That's a write off. You know what I mean? Like you got to write some things off. You know what I'm saying? That's
Exactly.
what it is.
Oh man.
Has doing poses and like taking stills to inform like your boards or any of that? Have you ever thought about getting into photography?
I have thought about it, and like I really it's something that I think I would like to do as like a hobby, but like
Sure.
I don't have any time. You know what I
I
mean?
get
Like
it.
I feel like
I get it.
my days just it's like every day. Next thing I know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm. I
Like
get that.
every day, it's only
Mm-hmm.
1 o'clock in the morning.
It's only ever 1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock right now.
Yeah.
1 o'clock. It's 1 a.m. right now. I get
Right.
it. You're busy. Yeah. I mean, give me the inside scoop on how how important it is to have a partner like you do in Penny that understands the work you do,
Mm.
and vice
I
versa.
mean, for me, it's everything. Like I don't uh like this work that we do. Like it's been a real challenge sometimes. Like especially when we were getting started. Like I mean, a lot of times we was broke, like
Yeah.
all the way broke. You
Yeah.
know, like that secret 20 from Target broke.
I feel you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know what I mean.
Right.
But I think as creatives, uh, like working towards something, like we both understand, what it takes, and I think anytime I might falter, like she's there, and vice versa. So
Yeah.
just trying to make sure that we have that focus together. That was really everything, and then even like the the move coming out to LA was like this whole thing. Because at one point I think we were paying rent at like three places,
Oof.
so that was
Right.
like a
Oof.
real, yeah, right, like that was a real challenge.
Mm-hmm.
um and then yeah, like it is. I mean, y'all know, like life be
Mm-hmm.
life, man.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah,
does indeed life sometimes.
yeah,
Life does
Facts.
indeed life sometimes. Um,
and you can't uh you can't do it alone. You just can't.
I mean, it's important to have again a good partner, but especially one who understands like when you understand each other's stresses,
Yeah.
right? Like you know what stress is. But y'all,
Hmm.
you guys do, you work at home from home, right? A lot of the majority of the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what is it? How do you turn off work? Like a lot of people struggle with leaving work at home, not bringing them or allowing them to invade their personal space, trying to create separation. How do you do that?
Um, I'm not good at separating myself from work. I don't think. Like
Hmm.
I'm just bad at it, and I
Okay.
think a lot of it is like the stuff that I do for a living is the stuff that I do also for fun.
Sure.
Um, so I'm just it's really difficult for me to not be thinking about some of this stuff in some way.
Hmm.
And I think, like I don't know, like it's just tough. I think Penny's better at it than me.
Okay.
But I think like something that helps is just uh having like specific time to just step away from my desk.
Yeah.
Get out of this space. And then, like when we're having dinner, like we usually break for a few hours so that we, can eat and like watch some TV and just chill out. And then, stuff like going to the movies, checking out Captain America,
Yeah.
um, hitting up Disneyland. That's we did that this week. That was good.
Yeah.
Really
It's a good
important.
way to unwind.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's your happy place. Disney is your happy place. Is that
That's Penny's happy place.
got it? Her happy place is your happy place. I just want you to know, sir. That's how this
Pretty
works.
much. Pretty much.
That's how this works. So 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 your answer was supposed to be yes. Yeah, yeah. Um correct. Jerry, I know you're
Man.
working on stuff and I don't know how free you are to say what it is you're working on. So I don't even want to. I don't really want to even get into that. But what I do want to do is just make sure everybody who's hanging out with us now knows where they got to go to find you, where they can hang out and see you. So, what's the best ways for people to do that?
You can the I know. Yeah, the best place to find me is Instagram at the Franchize Art. You can Google me, just Jerry Gaylord on the internet. I'm out there.
Yeah.
Or turn on Disney Plus, watch some X-Men, watch some What If.
Yeah, that's right.
Check those out.
I dig that. Have you watched the new Spider-Man show, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
I'm not caught up. I've seen, I think, the first maybe 3 or 4 episodes.
Let me make a recommendation, sir. Yes. You need to get caught up. Like, I know you're busy, my guy.
Yeah.
You need to get caught up.
All right,
there's some things. There's some things happening. That last episode, boy, the last 6 seconds of the last episode. Get caught up. You should absolutely do that.
Okay.
Y'all make sure you guys go follow Jerry, follow his antics. You know what I mean? Check out what he's doing. He and Penny have been working on posting every day some of what they're working on and what it's like to work on the stuff that that they do, and kind of showing you some of their warm-ups. Hyperboy, you know what I mean, for the win, little Hyperboy love out here. I dig that. I'm real happy to see that and see y'all doing something like that, just kind of giving the kind of everyday, daily kind of push and grind and so forth. I've said what's up, Jerry. Love you and Penny, that's for sure.
We love you back.
Sin.
Yo.
Can you see if you can load up this Andor season 2 trailer that dropped like yesterday or the day before on YouTube? Let's take a look at that. You mind taking a look at that with us, Jerry?
Let's do it.
Cool.
I haven't seen it yet.
I mean, either.
Let's do it together.
I was specifically ignoring it so that we could do it now.
We're in a war. You want to fight? Or you want to win? Last night I had a dream that the world had turned around. All our hopes had come to be. The revolution starts now.
What a swell party this is.
Remember this moment. You're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight.
Okay.
That's not too bad.
Interesting song choice, I think.
Yeah.
Very interesting trailer to lean so heavily in the critical acclaim of the first. Zaina said, love the daily content. Makes my Instagram a safe place to be. Smiley face.
Oh, thank you. I'm sure it's mostly for Penny because she's out here really killing it.
You know, you guys are a package deal, Slim. That's how that works. Um, you know, did you watch the first season of Andor, Jerry?
I did eventually. Like I wasn't getting into like the first few episodes, and then like the back end of it really got me. The
Yes.
the
Okay.
trailer, this trailer is looking pretty good though. It's funny like when I see that, I'm like, that's the quality that I want from every one of these shows that comes out
Mhm.
on Disney
Mhm.
Plus. Like I
Yeah.
want it all to look like that. I want this, really high quality format, on TV, like something that is it's not quite a movie, but like you're really drawn in and it feels important and special. Like this looks like is part of the movies. Like it
Yeah.
looks like this is
Yeah.
essential reading.
I would agree. I would agree. I mean, look, I'm not gonna. I feel like the first season started off a little slow for me.
Hmm.
I think it's better when you kind of go back. It's weird. Like when you know what's happening, I think the first few episodes of the first season are actually better. You
Mm.
know, when you're kind of waiting on the
Okay.
intrigue and you're kind of trying to figure things out, and it feels like it's a little bit slow. When you
Yeah.
actually know what's going on already, and you go back, it's a little bit easier to like, oh yeah, this makes
Yeah.
sense. You know,
Mhm.
whatever. And seeing that trailer really reminded me how much I hate some of those characters so much. I cannot wait to see them again. Like they're people I want to see lose so bad. Um, so they are apparently taking a different approach with this. They are releasing it's 12 episodes and they are releasing them 3 episodes at a time
That's a
over
lot of episodes.
4 weeks. Correct.
Okay.
Right. So episodes 1, 2, and 3 start April 22nd. Episodes 4, 5, and 6 April 29th. Episodes 7, 8, and 9 May 6th. And then episodes 10, 11, and 12 May 13th. Now, what I will tell you is interesting to me about this because Disney did the same thing sort of with this most recent Spider-Man show that I was just talking about. They were
Right.
releasing
Hmm.
multiple episodes at a time, which I think is a very interesting way to do it, right? We're going to put it out in the middle of the month. We're going to give them, you basically will have half the show, and then you'll need to stay in,
Yeah. Make sure you subscribe
get
for
at
the
least
next
another
month.
payment out of you or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But here's the thing part of what I think has hurt a lot of these shows is that they tend to bounce around between writers and directors, right? Like you have one person who directed episode 2 and 6 and you know what I mean, and like 9 or something like that. Like there's this weird kind of, and sometimes I think the shows feel less cohesive because you have different visions for the way that the show is directed or even written in some
Mhm.
case. What I have noticed with this, the first 3 episodes are written by somebody named Tony Gilroy and then directed by Ariel Kleiman. The next 3 episodes are written by Bo Williamson and directed by Ariel Kleiman. So you have a different writer for the second 3 episodes than you have for the first 3 episodes. But maybe they're like, we're gonna have you write like the first act of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The first part of the show. So they have
Hmm.
the same 2 different writers, same director for the first 6 episodes, right?
Hmm.
Which I think will help it feel more cohesive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
7, 8, and 9, Dan Gilroy is the writer, directed by Janice Metz. So again, those 3 episodes have a different director and writer than the 3 before and the three
Mhm.
before that. And then the last 3 episodes, again, new writer, new director for those 3. So it's
Hmm.
less jumbled. It's not as
Yeah.
mixed up. It's kind of not
Interesting.
as all over the place. I think that also makes it so the actors can work well. Like they get used to taking direction from a particular person.
Mhm.
I can't imagine trying to work on the exact same series and the exact same script and having a different person with a completely different approach be the person who's doing the directing, you know, to you as, you know what I mean, as an actor. And I know that in television, a lot of times they will have a guest, somebody like even sometimes somebody who works on the show, who is an actor on the show, will jump in and will direct an episode or something like that. But those episodes tend not to be serialized, like they're not, you know, going in order. And so it can be okay for it to have a slightly different feel or something like that. So I'm interested in seeing how that works, and it seems to me that that might be the reason why they're doing it this way, which I think is an interesting approach. And I would imagine that if it works for them, they'll probably continue with that.
I think this sounds like a smarter approach than what they've been doing. I agree with that completely. Yeah, because it has been jumbled a lot with these, especially with these Star Wars shows. So yeah, so hopefully this will fix some of that.
With like because you know, like these joints are usually like 8 to 10 episodes, and this one's 12, so that's a lot. But as few episodes as there are, you're absolutely right. Like the tonal shift, like you can feel it. And you know, like in the first season of Mandalorian, I think that was a strength. But for this show, I don't think it needs that kind of like tone change per episode. Like it definitely needs to stay in the pocket, like for whatever it's trying to do.
I would agree. I mean, I think, look, knowing if I'm gonna sit down, if you tell me all 3 episodes are coming out on this day, chances are I'm just gonna sit down and watch all 3.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or at least at worst, by the time the weekend's over, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna watch all 3. And so they're gonna feel like a thing to me. And so when I get ready to watch the following week, I'm probably just gonna decide, I'm just gonna watch all 3, right? Like, even if as a viewer, you don't necessarily know that they're doing it that way, when you get to the end of the episode and instead of it being over, that joint, the little thing pops up on the right hand side that says next episode in 10, 9, 8, you just let it cook. You know what I mean? Like, all right, let it, you know, let it cook. And it is likely, I think, to help keep people tuned in. Actually, I think it makes a lot of sense. I actually really do. So, I mean, we'll see if this is a thing going forward. It's a weird thing, and we kind of discussed it last week with Jeffrey being on, and the fact that he spends time as a critic and doing shows and talking about the difference in whether or not a streaming service decides to just drop everything at once and make it bingeable versus doing episode by episode, and how effective or ineffective it can be to have critics actually writing up, here's your feedback on episodes 1, 2, and 3, right? And then being able to get that kind of cadence again, because the water cooler moments are mostly gone now, right? Because the internet kind of took that away, social media kind of took that away. So now it's just like you get online and somebody's telling you, the first 3 episodes were good because of A, B, and C, and somebody's going to tell you the same thing about the next 3. So I do think that there's some changes in approach also for that reason as well, I think. Now I want to shift.
I know that nobody knows what they're doing. You're probably right. Like they have some idea that, like, you know, let's try this and maybe this will happen. I didn't know. I didn't even know.
So, I mean, here's the thing. So the question I was asked in the chat is, what do you think about Kathleen Kennedy retiring? Nothing that I have seen has made it definitive. There are rumors that she is going to step down as president of Lucasfilm by the end of this year. Those are what the rumors are. And to be honest, I could see it. You know what I mean? Like, she's been doing what she's been doing for a very long time. And I don't really know that there's a whole lot left for her to do or accomplish that she hasn't already been able to do. And I don't really feel like any of them ever really quit and leave the industry. I feel like they maybe leave where they are and go do something else. But I also think that there may be some pressure being applied at the Disney level, because, like, again, with what she's got her hands in with all of what's happening with Star Wars, there are probably people who feel like, all right, it's maybe time for a little bit of new blood, some kind of changing of the guard kind of stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see who replaces her. But there's
Mm.
very little doubt in my mind that she would. Like, I don't. What else is there for her to do at this point?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's been a long time because she's been in that role since like all of my life, I think.
I mean, I'm gonna say at least since like the early 2000s, something like that. Like, she's
Hmm.
been,
She
if not
wasn't
in
running
that
it
role
like back in the 80s.
I mean, I'm I don't think she was the president. Like, you know what
But
I
I
mean?
She may have
Like,
been
think,
doing
I'm
something,
not
yeah,
yeah,
saying she
something
was. I'm
else.
saying
yeah,
she was involved. She's been involved,
yeah,
just like Feige. Like, Kevin Feige was involved in the very first X-Men movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
you know, they've been around a long time.
Hmm.
But stepping down as president of Lucasfilm doesn't mean she's not sliding into something else or up to something else at Disney. You know what I mean? Like,
True.
I don't know. And them saying stepping down tends to make it sound like worse than it is, but like,
Yeah,
because they're not, because if they had used the words retire, that's a little different. Saying she's stepping down makes it sound like there's definitely pressure that's coming from somewhere, or that she's not hitting numbers they want, or something that she's responsible for in some way. Or it could be that like they want to do something different than what she wants to do, and she's like, that's not,
right. Yeah.
you know, what I want to do. And somebody who's shareholding something somewhere is like, well, you know what?
We're gonna go in a
We
different
gotta,
direction.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's.
I just hope it's like, for me, like I just hope it's her decision and
Mhm.
um to leave. But even if it's not, like if she's going, then you know, I just hope she's doing something that she enjoys.
Yeah,
Because I know like there's so much like pressure to create and to succeed at like this really high level.
hmm,
Um, you know, and I also know that like these movies haven't been great,
yeah,
but I also think like they're not really being set up to be great. You
no,
know what I mean? And so I don't know, you know, exactly what all the pressure is like, but I know that Disney, Lucasfilm, Marvel, they at you know what I mean? Like just from a very basic level, at the point where they say go on these movies, like they're already, you know, behind. And so
sure,
they're playing catch up the whole time.
yeah. I mean, I would agree. You know, the industry itself. I think that for the first time, technology is forcing the industry to change at a faster pace than they can handle.
Hmm.
A lot of times they're at the forefront of the technology that is forcing change. There is somebody who's there who creates
Hmm.
the thing that allows them to make the first Pixar movie, right? And then like
Yeah.
move from, you know, piece to piece into that. Um and for so long, the very tried and true traditional ways of advertising and like what that looks like, how long a movie stays in the theater, how long before it's available to rent or to stream or to whatever, like all those things were things that were predictable and you could kind of bank on them because it worked for so long and because they had so much control for so long. And unfortunately now a lot of the control and pacing in terms of what becomes a hit, what goes viral, a clip from a movie turns into a thing on TikTok or whatever. Now everybody has to see it, or everybody wants a part of it, or like we're not the kind of people who go to the theater, but we will absolutely watch it on streaming, or we will you know what I mean? Like it's so different, and it's just a change in the behaviors of people because of the change of the access to technology and social media and attention span things. So it might be that a lot of the old guard just doesn't know how to adapt to the way
Could
that
be
it's
it.
changing, and or how quickly it's changing. And the ones who are doing it well, you know, even if they don't have the kind of knowledge that she will leave with is like it's almost unmatchable. You can't
Yeah.
bring in somebody new and green and young, but if you bring in somebody who's open and is ready to listen or wants to try different things or whatever, there's a lot of fear, and a lot of companies are risk averse, which makes sense, right? Like you don't, you go all in on IPs you already have, and you're not really creating anything new. Like that's been a major complaint across entertainment as a whole. It's happening in video games, it's happening in movies and in TV, and even happening in writing and in stories or whatever. And a lot of people are going, well, the new and better and interesting stuff is all in the indie space, right? It's in indie comics and it's in indie games and it's in, right. But at some point you got to be willing to take a risk on something that maybe isn't as expensive but is likely to still be a hit. And the proof is in kids playing Minecraft because it's
Yeah.
ugly
Yeah.
and they don't care. They
Not at
don't
all.
care. They care about the freedom they have to create and do what they want more
Yeah.
than they care about that it's squares. You know what I mean? And
At the end of the day, no matter what the media is, it just needs to be good. You know what I mean? It's like we can talk about like, oh, do people go to the theater, or like how long was it in the theater, and like all these things that change. But the thing that really matters is, did you give the thing that you made an opportunity
yeah,
to
hey,
succeed?
Heaven.
Like, did you make a good thing that people can
Yeah,
enjoy?
Mhm.
And usually what happens is, like, if it's good, people will come out and they'll watch it. Like, I haven't seen the new Transformers movie yet, the animated
Uh,
one.
yeah, I heard
Transformers
great
One.
things about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've heard so much great stuff about it, but I know it didn't do very well in the theater. So,
Mhm.
that's probably going to become one of those like cult following kind of things.
Sure,
And it's like those studios are going to keep making money off that movie down the line,
sure.
but at the same time, like when it comes time for them to make another movie, they're going to look at what it did on that opening weekend
Hmm.
and decide, well, maybe we don't want to do that, versus saying, hey, like, look at this thing that we created, it did work.
Hmm.
Maybe we didn't support it properly in the marketing. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
I think that very well could have been the case. But
100%.
yeah, I mean, it's just got to be quality, because when it's good, people will want to watch it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's still also, you know, as much as I hate to say it, in a lot of cases, it still has to be attractive. It doesn't have to be
Sure.
pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it has to be attractive. Those aren't always the same thing.
Mm,
People are attracted. Minecraft is ugly, but people are attracted to it, right? Because it looks so different from everything else that was available, that was on the market, marketed as a kids thing, and then people started realizing all of what you could do with it, right? Um, so it still has to be attractive, and I think the important thing is figuring out how to make it attractive to what your target audience is, and more importantly, being able to figure out what that target audience is.
Mhm.
I think part of what's happening right now is that the nostalgia train left the station a long time ago, right? And for the folks who are on it, they're there for everything. If it's Transformers, I'm in there. Let's go, right?
mm,
And so when you take something that is on that train and you make it look like something that is for the children that you dragged onto the train, but maybe not for you, right?
yeah.
Your interest is different, right? And figuring out who that audience is tougher. Um, which actually is kind of a good segue into what's going on right now with James Gunn and DC Studios. So, um, it was announced what the plan is for the slate of releases.
Mm,
Not like specifically what movies are coming out, but like what
Mhm.
the cadence is supposed to be for those, right? So I'm just gonna kind of read off what that is. So the plan is 2 live films a year, 1 animated film a year, 2 live action series a year, and 2 animated series for Max a year.
Okay.
So that's 7 pieces of content each year over however long I guess it takes.
Right.
That's a lot of content. That's a lot. My concern is that is a lot of content for something that is supposed to be all connected.
Well, I can tell you the animated stuff won't be connected.
Okay.
Just by looking at the titles, I can tell you that's not the case.
Okay. I mean, he said it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, right now, Creature Commandos literally references stuff that happened in Peacemaker. And Peacemaker season 2 is going to have Frank Grillo in it, who played the father of the what's his name? The officer that died in Peacemaker. Right? And he
well, I guess
he's in the live action.
I guess what I mean is not all of it. Right. So like I know that the Creature Commandos fits in. But even at that, I would say that's a soft fit in, right? Like they're not going to, like, when you go see Superman, if you didn't watch Creature Commandos, you're not going to be lost.
Correct.
And then like I know I saw they're doing a Superpowers cartoon, and they're doing My Adventures with Green Lantern. There's no way that those 2 shows
will be connected to each other. No, I don't think they're going to match up. I just think that I think that what they're stating is that they all take place in the same universe, first and foremost. I think that's the big thing. I do think that at some point down the line, all of it will matter. Because otherwise, why are you bothering to do that? Like, there's no reason for them to all take place in the same universe, especially when you're actually, like, literally James Gunn came out like today or yesterday and said, we need to, like, we're making it known that, like, the Batman, like that, like Robert Pattinson is not our Batman. He is not the DC Studios Batman, right? So again, that's going to be confusing for people, I think, right?
It's going to be confusing for me.
Yeah,
exactly. So if you're not you or me,
right,
or most of the people who would watch a show like this, you're like, what's going on? What are you doing? I do think that can be a problem. But I also think that there's some, like, Warner Brothers just shut down like 3 studios, canceled the Wonder Woman game. That got announced today. And like Monolith hasn't done anything as a studio since the Lord of the Rings games, the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games. And for them to just be shut down, I mean, to be honest, I think it speaks volumes about Wonder Woman. It really makes me interested in seeing how, or really if, James Gunn will even really bother with Wonder Woman. I mean,
eventually he will.
Why though?
Why would you leave that off the table? That first Wonder Woman movie was a hit, right?
It was.
I mean, the character of Wonder Woman is easily one of the most recognizable characters, like, IP, like, in the world. Why would you sit on that? Like,
I'm gonna tell you why I think they sit on it. I think it's because Wonder Woman is an incredible property. Like, the character of Wonder Woman is an incredible property, an incredible character. However, the world around Wonder Woman is not. At least they haven't been able to make it that way. So, like, real talk, as like, they can sell Wonder Woman paraphernalia and product and whatever, like, through the roof. Like, they'll sell that stuff to the cows come home. It's easily one of their biggest properties in terms of, like, selling book bags and like all that kind of stuff. easily. But I would wager that if you ask most people who don't read comic books, right? Especially when you talk about her being a part of the Trinity, right? The three main characters, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, like that's what it's supposed to be. I don't think that's actually the case anymore. And I think that's not the case because I don't think the characters around Wonder Woman are interesting. So like almost anybody can tell you Batman's rogues gallery. Like they can tell you his butler. They can tell you any number of characters he fights. Like they know his villains, right? Like, and they don't just know like the Joker. Like people know Clayface. People could mention Two-Face. People could right, and then they know other characters around them. Commissioner Gordon. They can do that. Superman is the same way. If you say Superman, you can't really say Superman without saying Jimmy Olsen and or Lois Lane. Like the cast of
Lex
characters,
Luthor, yeah,
Lex Luthor, even Ma and Pa Kent, right?
yeah.
Like they are known and they are entities that matter to the character and to that character structure. Ask people whose Wonder Woman's peoples are. Ooh, I hear you, Penny. Penny said, I hope they don't do that. I mean, if you ask most people, who does Wonder Woman fight? They won't be able to tell you. Right? They can't tell you who are her regular, like, and if they ask you who's important to her around her, some people might be able to tell you Steve Trevor, but Steve Trevor's boring, to be honest. And he also is dead or should be dead or whatever. Like, I just think her story is very convoluted, the time frame she fits into, where she really comes from. And I just think that as incredible as she is and as ridiculous as her power set is and all of those things that are the things that make people identify with her. I think she pales in comparison because right now you could go ask people about Green Arrow and they can tell you way more than they can tell you about Wonder Woman because of the success of that show.
I think you just like that's really the issue. Like the reason why, you know, the casual fan can tell you who Two-Face and Clayface are and you know, who Ma and Pa Kent are, is because the media that has surrounded these characters has been good and it's been out there. Like Wonder Woman was in the Justice League. Oh wait, hold up.
Penny said, I don't know. I think if they're able to make a good Supergirl movie, Wonder Woman shouldn't be that much difficult. And I think that if you can make a good Thor movie, I don't see why you can't make a Wonder Woman movie. Probably because the Thor movies are probably the least liked of all the MCU films that aren't Eternals. And Supergirl doesn't have a great movie yet. However, Supergirl is so intrinsically tied to Superman that it automatically makes it easier, I think. Right? And the idea of Wonder Woman, like I like Wonder Woman, but I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. The people who like really know, there are people who might say Gal Gadot, but like I would still reckon that like Linda Carter is a more popular known entity for Wonder Woman than anything or anybody else that didn't voice her in an animated show.
Right.
Right.
Even then, even
then, Linda Carter is still. How old is that show? How long was that? Again, two things. One, it speaks to the longevity and the power of the character. When we talk about the IP of the character, we're talking about all of it, right? Because even that show, Wonder Girl was in the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget, the first Wonder movie was good. That second one was garbage.
Was real bad.
That's what I'm saying. Like all they have to do is tell a good story. Like there's no difference between Cersei and I don't know General Zod. There really truly isn't. Like she, you know, like if you give her a compelling motivation and you know make her a good contrast in the script to Wonder Woman, then that's a good story. But I would even argue I don't even like Wonder Woman's Rogues Gallery. Like is great. It's all right. Like, but you don't even need that because she's wrapped up in Greek mythology. I would rather see her fight Medusa and like a minotaur, or
I mean,
like those.
sure. Here's the thing that I think is important. I think if you were to ask people who love Wonder Woman why they love Wonder Woman, it will be about her. It's not about her story, so to speak. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not the like woman out of time thing. It's not it's not about her story. It's just about her being a woman and the things that she can do as a woman and the things that she stands for. So even with all of the history of comic books and everything that's behind her, you still have to build that. And they actually might do better putting new characters that you know what I mean, nobody does know around her, and creating a real, those characters. It's really hard to create a true vulnerability, I think, around those characters. And so you really have to build that in, I think. And so like when they announced a Wonder Woman game, I'm like, and that is by the people who did those last two Lord of the Rings, I'm like, yes, let's go. I'm all in, right? Because again, I'd love to see just Wonder Woman just go beat up some, cool. Penny says, I would argue lots of people, myself included, love Thor Ragnarok. That last one kind of colors the rest of the Thor movies badly. I love Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was a huge departure, though, from the other Thor films that came before it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were turned off by that change in direction, right? By making it more comedic and, whatever. I thought it was great. And I thought it was a thing that Marvel needed. And I think of all the characters they had, Thor was the right one to do something like that with. But what they built around Thor in the first movie was the same thing they built around Captain America, which was the fish out of water thing, right? He now has been stripped of everything that makes him who he thinks he is. And now he's got to go and prove that he can do the things he's supposed to do. So he had everything and he lost everything and he had to earn it back. And he had to earn it back against like the weakest, like the weakest fight for the end of any of those, that first wave of Marvel films. Easily his fight against like the Annihilator in the desert is like the worst. It's the weakest one. People liked it because he was a fish out of water, speaking, taking a coffee mug and throwing it on the ground and being like, another, like those things.
My horse. All that stuff.
That's the whole movie. Like for that first Thor, him throwing the coffee mug down is the entire movie. But like,
and it works.
I think that's really still the point though, because like Penny and I really didn't like that first Thor movie. I think in the second one, like we'd rather, at that time, I think Green Lantern came out and we were like, Green Lantern was way better.
I mean, the second Thor movie is way better in hindsight, but at the time, I mean, it was.
I don't know.
It wasn't there. But realistically, neither was the second Iron Man movie.
True.
I mean, that movie is. All of those movies are about watching Robert Downey Jr. Like that's what they're about.
And again, here's the thing, and this is what I will tell you is important about the difference between the way Marvel has handled that stuff, especially in the beginning and coming forward, is that Thor is, for that first run of the original Avengers, he's the only person who gets called by his name because it's his name. Everyone else gets called by their street name. Tony is Tony. That's what they call him. You know what I mean? Steve is Steve. That's what they call him. Every now and again, somebody says Cap.
Yeah.
But they call him. And so, like, literally people walking around, the patrons, the moviegoers, the viewers, are using their government names, their street names, right? They did a great job of humanizing the characters. And so, like, you do have to find a way to, like, it's not that they don't say Diana. Like, they don't call her Wonder, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wonder, right? Justice League works the way it works as a show because they call it, she says Bruce and he says Diana, right? And it's because of that. It's that, them humanizing them and giving them like real kind of regular. Hey, listen, Raina, I know Iron Man 2 is your favorite Iron Man, but you also already agreed that it's not good. You just like it, and so which is fine.
I like it too. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it has some moments. Here's the thing. I would love for them to find a way to. I think Wonder Woman deserves it, and I would love to see her get it. I think they just have a lot of work cut out for them to make it happen because she's already so big. Like Thor was for most people, Thor was an unknown entity. Everybody already knows Wonder Woman. So it's much more difficult, I think, to peel back the layers of what people already know about her as a character and make her feel like she's not already a god who's, you know what I mean, is vulnerable in some manners other than falling in love.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. You thank me
Yeah,
too.
no, I really think it's just a matter of hiring somebody that just really goes all in for Wonder Woman. Like I don't think
you and
it's
Penny should
any
write
more
this.
complicated. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we need, something on that level. Like somebody who's really who kind of brings that with them. Because I think like a lot of times, we forget the people who are, creating these movies, they're not necessarily like fans like that.
Right.
They just movie makers, and it's work.
Correct.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just that if this stuff is going to work, like these superheroes in particular, like they need somebody that like gets it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
I will tell you that I think the biggest downside for Green Arrow as a show and as like really being able to like tip the scales in terms of like selling marketable product is his logo. Like it's not marketable. Like it's just so hard. You can't just market the word Arrow. It doesn't quite work. And when you don't use Green Arrow in the name, you can't just do a green arrow as a symbol or whatever and think people are just going to go buy mugs and hats and t-shirts and whatever. People would buy anything with Stephen Amell's face on it, but they wouldn't necessarily buy something that was the arrow or the Green Arrow logo. Wonder Woman has that in spades.
Yeah.
You see a W with stars and stripes and you know what it is immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's got that already. That's where they missed with Arrow. They couldn't do that. Flash, on the other hand, which a great show, and again, I would tell you people know Flash's Rogues Gallery even more than they know Wonder Woman's because he recently had such a great show that has all these characters that they introduced, and Wonder Woman doesn't have that, right? And even when she had a show, what made it interesting was her being around regular people, right? And kind of dealing with being in the world of men, so to speak. And I think you almost have to build that around her to get people to like buy in. Like you kind of have to do that fish out of water. Like she is this being who is now in a place and she has to be a little less like I'm better than you or I'm bigger than you or I can't stand men because we don't need you and whatever. She just kind of has to be like, I'm here to help, but I'm in this place where I don't understand things and I don't know what's going on. And when they do episodes in animation and like she gets ice cream for the first time, that's humanizing her. Like that makes her immediately like she's at the ice cream cart with a little girl who's going off about ice cream. And she's like, what is this ice cream? Even though it's like her with a sword being like, everybody should have ice cream. It's hilarious and it's wonderful because it humanizes her in a childlike way because there are things that as powerful and as all-knowing and for as long as she's been alive, for all of what they can do and do have on Themyscira, they don't got no ice cream. They don't got no hot dog cart sandwich. You know what I mean? And so like having her be able to be excited about those kinds of things, right, would be the kinds of things I think that would humanize her enough that people would start to buy in, right? And little girls would start to buy in. There's a lot more cash for little girls being dressed as a villain named Harley Quinn than there is for them being dressed as Wonder Woman. which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that. But Penny's right. The DC superhero
Superhero
girls,
girl? Absolutely.
they actually they had a great handle on Wonder Woman. But again, it's like it was an ensemble cast
Right.
again, like a Justice League kind of thing,
Mhm.
where you know, she was definitely I think she was a great lead character in that show. But you don't get a sense for like her villains and her
Yeah.
you know, as a specific protagonist, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's weird to have a movie like Wonder Woman 1984 and have a villain that, like, if you know comics, is as iconic as Cheetah, and people be like, who? What is that? Right? And
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Well, again, like
okay,
that movie didn't do it right. Like that, she's cheated
you're right.
No.
for like 2 minutes in the movie,
100%.
and the whole movie is about I forget that dude's name, but he's like not really even a Wonder Woman character. Like he's sort
Nah,
of
but it was Pedro
interact.
Pascal, and he's
Yep.
supposed to do no wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
Yep.
just supposed to be off the strength of, like, you know, again, it's just one of those things where, like, it the first movie was great until the final villain. Final villain was
Yeah.
terrible. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But that's literally dropping the ball in the red zone. You know what I mean? Just before the
Yeah.
touchdown. Like you
Mhm.
know, you got it and everything's cool and it's working and it feels like the first Captain America film in all the right ways.
Right.
And then you drop the ball on the villain at the end and it makes it feel like you ran out of time, right? And you had to rush it to get the movie complete and put it out. And so, you know, again, like I would love to see them really be able to tackle it. I think that part of what James Gunn is doing the right way is, in my opinion, using the experience of what, again, like Marvel made characters that were basically C tier, maybe even at that time D tier characters, and made them important,
Yeah.
right? Because they did have interesting stories and they did have great backstories and they humanized them first. And him doing stuff like, and again, him working on like Guardians of the Galaxy, like nobody knew who they were. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
like him doing Creature Commandos, right, as like, this is my first real animated thing or whatever, let me introduce, and it's not like you don't kind of know what some of these creatures at least are supposed to represent.
Yeah.
But you literally pull Weasel in from the
From
first
movies, yeah.
right, you know what I mean, or whatever, and kind of do something to try to tie it together. And like I said, like they reference stuff that happened in Peacemaker, which I didn't really like Peacemaker. It wasn't terrible. There were things about it I didn't like. I think that pulling from some of the more obscure characters that exist within the world and making those characters interesting will help to round out the powerhouses we already know. Even the Superman film, like James Gunn is telling you, this movie doesn't work without Mr. Terrific being super important to the plot of this film. And it's like, people are gonna be like, Mr. Terrific, what is that? What kind of name? And he's black. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Right.
But you add in Crypto, give him a dog. That immediately helps humanize him. Like, it just does. Like,
Listen, I was sold right off of that. I was
Of course.
like, you know, I mean, I've been burned by DC and these Superman movies before, but they showed me some Crypto. I'm like, so we're doing something completely different.
right. Which is, again, we're gonna have a Supergirl. I think that's cool. We're getting. They show us a trailer that's a teaser that shows us a Green Lantern and a Hawk Girl, and like there are other people that exist. This is an ensemble. We're not leaning on the strength of Superman. And I mean, like, let's be real. All the other stories, even like my personal favorite animated DC film, has Batman and Superman in the title, but it is about Supergirl.
Yep.
That Batman, Superman, Apocalypse, like they use their names to sell it to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a movie about Supergirl's origin, pretty much.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is. But it works. You know what I mean?
Well.
It's super works. You know what I mean? And like, and some of those joints, characters that are like, again, more obscure for a lot of people. Big Barda, super important in that movie. Hands, getting it in. And she's not, her and Wonder Woman fighting together on Apocalypse is one of the most incredible. And people are like, who this Big Barda? Because she hold, and they notice big deal that she's holding her own like with somebody like Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like, it's, man, when I very first came out to LA and I was at Warner Brothers, they had a thing where they asked employees to come in and give their like opinions about stuff, and they were asking me
Mhm.
about Black Lightning, and they were like, "What do you think we can do to like make the show better?" I was like, "Well, it would be really cool if you could like introduce like, you know, some other DC characters in his show, and then like
Mhm.
have them grow before you know, put them in a new show or something like that."
Yeah,
And that's what works, right? You bring these characters out and you say, "Oh, like here's Barda, and you know,
yeah,
she's as tough as Wonder Woman, so like this is cool." You know, get to know
yeah.
her and then get to know these other characters. And that's what this Superman movie is doing, and saying, you know, these are some characters you may not know if you
Right.
haven't been watching the cartoons.
And I think that's important. I think it's
Yeah.
a smart move, man. We'll see. That's a lot for them to do that much content every year. It's a lot.
It is.
So I just hope that they budget it right, and look, and not. I would much rather they not try to force themselves to stick to that schedule and make it more important to stick with it being good and
Yeah.
therefore coming
Yeah.
and make
Keep the quality
money.
together. Yeah, not try to
Yeah. Like if
pack it
it's
out with a
not
whole bunch of
working,
stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Pull back on
just
it.
Yeah,
let
So
it go or push it
yeah.
versus
yeah,
being like, all right, well, we said it's got to come out. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But we also know that like they'll just cancel stuff. They'll just be like,
yeah.
100%.
cancel that thing, write it off. Let's call it a day. We
I
don't
will
need
never see
this.
that Batgirl movie that's completed, just sitting on the shelf
Mm.
somewhere.
Yeah. Look, we're gonna get ready to get out of here. We were gonna talk about this announced DC Marvel crossover that's coming up in the comics, but we won't. We'll call it a cliffhanger. We'll call it a cliffhanger.
I'll
Jerry, I
come
want to
back
thank
next time.
you. I'm perfect. I'm down. You know what I mean? You know what? In fact, as a matter of fact, why don't we just have Penny next week, and you can just chime
Oh,
in
there
the
you go.
comments. I'm down. Penny, you want to come on next week? We can do it. I'm not even joking. Penny wants to come on next week. We'll make it happen. We just flip flop.
I can't hear. She's not talking to me. She's
Oh,
fully.
She's probably about to say she's typing. I'm
fully.
pretty sure she was typing. Yeah.
Yeah.
she talking to us. There it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
All
there we
right,
go.
Penny's on next week's show, y'all. That's
Just like
that's
that.
a real thing. That's what we're doing. I love it. So yeah, we'll be back next week with Penny. You know what I'm saying?
Jerry in the
I wanna
background
thank
this
you for
time.
being here.
He'll be in the
I
chat.
already appreciate you being in the background next week.
Right on.
Yeah, no, real talk, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got things going on and you guys are super busy and the time difference and all that jazz. So thank you, man. I really appreciate you. I really do.
Yeah. You know I love y'all, man. This is it's always cool for me to hang out.
Anytime you want to, man, just hit me up. Like whenever you feel
Bet.
like it, you just hit me up. We'll
Bet.
make it work. Look, we got a couple of things that are brewing coming over the next couple of weeks. I literally am putting together. I'm gonna have to make a call and bump somebody, but like next month is Women's History Month, so it just so happens that now Penny is the first guest for Women's
Right.
History Month. But again, it works. It's fine. So yeah, so get ready for that. We'll talk to you guys a little bit next week about how StellarCon went because that was really cool. Talking to Johnny on Bosch and getting to talk to Veronica Taylor, the voice of Ash Ketchum for the first 8 years. That was really dope. So we had a good time there. So again, we'll make sure we cover that. I'm positive there's wrestling stuff coming up. Sin,
And
I know y'all
Elimination Chamber. Yeah, Elimination Chamber this weekend. So I know Jokes is putting together something for that. Next episode of Anime Chat, drops Thursday morning. Our top threes. I would say last week we're pretty sure it's going to be the same ones for the rest of the season, but we had some fluctuations this week. They're pretty cool, and we get into a good discussion about power scaling and power fantasy dynamics when it comes to anime and our ideas and thoughts on that. So look forward to a good show this Thursday when we drop it 10 a.m. on Thursday.
All right. So look, in like 2 weeks, we have BlurCon. We have 2 panels at BlurCon. We have our Being Comfortable Being a Geek panel, and which Adam Butler, who was on a couple weeks ago, will be on that panel with us at BlurCon Live. So come see that if you can. We are also doing the top 10 wrestlers of all time. And what that means is we have to do a separate top 10 wrestlers of all time ourselves before we do that. So sometime in the next 2 weeks, we just haven't figured out
Rhea,
when.
Rhea, and Rhea. That's
Yep,
what's
that's
gonna be.
one. So we got a lot of work to do. I don't know what we're gonna do with that.
Does Mr. T count? Does Mr. T count?
If he's in your top 10, absolutely. Absolutely. If that's look,
He's
everybody has to
definitely
come to the
in my
table
top
with it. If he is, I'm good with that. It's probably Mr. T, Junkyard Dog,
No.
Zeus, Tiny Lister,
yeah.
Mabel, Booker T.
Yeah, and what's and Virgil.
Oh
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, at some point we're all going to come to the table with our own top 10 lists, which will make it very interesting, and we'll use those lists to figure out what the actual top 10 is, and then we'll use those top 3 to seed the top 3 of the list for having people help us work that list out while we're at BlurCon. So that's coming in a couple of weeks. That's the weekend of March 7th and 8th and 9th. So that's coming up. I appreciate everybody for hanging out with us this evening. It has been a wonderful pleasure to have you. Again, Jerry, thanks for joining us. Penny, thanks for letting Jerry join us. I appreciate you. We all hope Jokes feels better. We're just going to leave with that tonight. We're out. Lose.
Loading snacks.